guys, it's Patrick with MT Knives coming to you today with today's Expert Council segment of the week. Today's question comes from another Expert Council member, Andy McCain, and it is, what is the best way to sanitize and care for a knife used at home for processing chickens or meat without damaging the blade or edge? So, this is a good question, Andy. I don't necessarily do anything particular to sanitize my knives that we use for processing chickens. However, one of the knives that we use quite often, we use Genesis quite often to process chickens, or a Reda knife. And the nice thing about the Reda knives is, and even the Genesis, is there's no wooden handle to kind of harbor anything. Where, with handle scales, a lot of times it gives a place for, cracks and places for stuff to kind of get in there and breed all nasty kind of stuff. But with the Reda knives or the Genesis, we just clean them with dish soap and, hot water, just like you would anything else. Being careful, of the edge and not just toss them into a sink. If a person really wanted to, you could sanitize them like you would anything. You could, I guess, put them in the dishwasher on a really hot cycle. I don't use a dishwasher, so that's not something I do. And then, two, if you just boiled some water, you could put the knives into some boiling water for a set time if you're really worried about sanitizing. I personally don't worry a whole lot about, we're processing food on a farm, our meat birds. I've processed deer out in the woods. I've processed a lot of meat and never had problems with sanitation, getting any kind of bacteria or whatnot in it. And a lot of it's just, be smart. Be careful with your meat, when processing it, keeping it clean, getting it chilled, all that kind of stuff. I'm more worried about meat that's processed in facilities. And the other day, I was at a store, and they were cleaning down at the end of the day. And I felt bad for the worker, because he was pressure washing their meat tables and everything. And the chemicals, I could smell through their, doors coming out into the main part of the store, was so strong. And I'm just thinking, I would not want to work in that environment every day where I'm using harsh chemicals to sanitize everything down and kind of have that sterile environment. But, on the flip side, there's been a lot of people get really sick from poor sanitation, especially in places where things are not kept clean. Be smart. Keep your work area clean. And I think a lot of it is following some of the old ways versus the new ways. I prefer wood cutting boards, wood cutting surfaces. A lot of these wood surfaces, some people I think are scared of them, but if you keep them oiled, keep your butcher blocks oiled and stuff like that, it really doesn't allow the growth of bacteria and such. Salt it, salt, oil, these kind of processes, these things help keep a sanitary work environment. So anyways, that's kind of a long-winded talk on sanitation, how we process our chickens, our meat here on the farm. Never had a problem with it. I wouldn't get all crazy using a bunch of chemicals and such. Basic soap and water. Make sure that you get, if there's any kind of handles that can't have cracks in it where something might live in there, make sure you keep it clean. Try to keep your equipment in good working order where, stuff's not going to get into cracks and crevices and, breed who knows what and then get that into your food. So, anyways, thanks for the question, Andy. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send them to me, Patrick at mtknives.net. Once again, this is Patrick Rohrman with MT Knives. Today's Expert Council segment. Stay sharp.